I opened the email with a cup of cheap hotel coffee trembling in my hand. The subject line was casual, almost mocking. You didn't need it anyway, right? My parents had sold my seaside villa to pay for my sister's gambling debts. No call, no warning, just that smug little jab in text form. I didn't reply. I sat still, staring at the screen, letting the betrayal settle like ice in my veins. I remembered the first time I walked through that villa, 10 years ago, holding my father's hand as he promised it was ours to keep. My parents' smiles then had been warm, genuine. My sister, laughing at some childish whim, had been innocent. I'd trusted them, loved them, believed family meant protection. Now I was looking at the digital equivalent of a punch in the gut. The signs had been there, subtle at first. Late-night calls that ended abruptly when I picked up. Small lies about money that didn't add up. But I hadn't wanted to see it. Until this email. Until this final, unforgivable act. That's when I stopped feeling shock. That's when I felt the cold edge of calculation. I booked the earliest flight back, but not to confront them. I reported the sale to the police, citing fraud and financial misconduct. It wasn't dramatic, not yet. I kept my calm, my voice even when the officer asked for details. Each word I gave, each form I signed, was a move in a game they didn't even know existed. The villa had been sold through a well-known agent, someone meticulous, someone I could trust. That's when the idea crystallized. If I controlled the narrative, the trap could close neatly around them. I waited. Patience was my weapon. Back home, I studied my parents' routine. I learned when they went out, who they called, what they said. Every interaction was a clue, a way to anticipate their next mistake. I didn't text, I didn't call. I simply waited, letting the anticipation grow. My sister, oblivious to the consequences, carried on. My parents, smug in their perceived victory, didn't suspect a thing. Then the call came from the real estate agent. "Did your parents receive confirmation of the sale?" she asked, her tone professional. "Yes," I said. My voice was calm, flat, but underneath I was savoring the moment. But something tells me they didn't realize it wasn't finalized. The setup had been flawless. I had learned enough about the contractual loopholes, just enough to delay the transfer, hold the funds, and ensure the buyers couldn't close without my signature. Legally, the sale hadn't happened. Emotionally, my parents believed they had won. That's where the genius of it landed. Fear, anxiety, helplessness. When I called my parents, they were brimming with satisfaction. "It's all done," my father said. "The villa. Settled." My calm smile was invisible over the line. I didn't correct them immediately. I let them bask. By the time they realized the villa was still mine, the police were involved. The agent's call had already hinted at irregularities. My parents' smug faces, so full of arrogance, crumbled piece by piece as the law closed in. My sister's debts remained unpaid. The money they had hoped to misappropriate? Frozen. The villa? Untouchable. Every step I had anticipated, every move calculated, had landed perfectly. I watched the fallout quietly. No shouting, no dramatic accusations, just the slow burn of realization as they saw themselves trapped by their own greed and arrogance. My satisfaction wasn't in shouting or revengeful theatrics, it was in watching them understand, painfully, that the universe had a quiet way of delivering justice. When I finally stood in the villa, keys in hand, I ran my fingers over the familiar banister. The smell of salt and old wood filled the air, and I felt a surge of something purer than victory: relief. I hadn't lost myself in anger. I hadn't let betrayal define me. I had moved like a shadow, precise, unseen, untouchable, until it was too late for them. I didn't gloat. I didn't gawk. I simply stood, listening to the waves, knowing that some debts, emotional, moral, and legal, had finally been paid in full. And somewhere deep inside, I allowed a small, satisfied smile. Silent justice was the sweetest kind.